What is up, you guys? Welcome back to No Pilled. Today's video is something that I was honestly really nervous going into. The reason for that is because it's a subject that I didn't want to take lightly, and I really wanted to do my research on it and get to know this topic inside and out. Before I journey into a new topic, I try to approach it with the mindset that I am the stupidest person and I know nothing about it, and that everyone knows more than me. And that way I have a lot more respect for it. It's a lot more humble that way. Today's subject, I tackle it with great humility, but I think it's something that really needs to be said, really needs to be talked about, and it's something that not a lot of people are familiar with. So I hope this video will be educational for you guys. First question, who is Nietzsche anyways? He was a German philosopher who began his career as a classical philologist before turning to philosophy. Nietzsche's work spans philosophical polemics, poetry, cultural criticism, and fiction, while displaying a fondness for aphorism and irony. Prominent elements of his philosophy include his radical critique of truth in favor of perspectivism, genealogical critique of religion and Christian morality, and a related theory of master-slave morality, the aesthetic affirmation in life in response to both the death of God and the profound crisis of nihilism. So in a nutshell, Nietzsche is a really prominent figure in philosophical circles, and he's so prominent that his work is really like the basis and foundation for modern philosophy, especially when it comes to modern philosophy without theology. Nietzsche's philosophical works revolved around the idea that he wanted to refute the philosophers of old. Nietzsche believes that the old-time philosophers were basically like crypto-Christians, and that they formed their doctrine and their philosophies surrounding a preconceived idea that the Christian God was the basis of all truth and morality. Another thing Nietzsche is really well known for is he denies the idea of objective truth and objective morality. He believed in perspectivism, which would mean that everybody and anybody's subjective reality is also considered to be true. So he didn't believe that there was one truth. He believed in what we see nowadays when people say, my truth, your truth, that person has their truth. That's kind of stemming from Nietzscheanism. Nietzsche's main criticism of Christianity was that not only did he believe that the Bible was corrupted by Jesus's followers and that they didn't record his life properly, but he also criticized the very morals in the Bible itself and believed that Christians were calling good evil and evil good because he believed that what was truly good is what was natural to man, and that any means to try and suppress the natural man was actually considered evil. Although Nietzsche in this way contradicts himself because he denied the very notion of good versus evil in the first place, and he actually didn't believe in that at all. Nietzsche believed that after Christianity, after religion, people would resort to nihilism, and that was the expected outcome to any atheist ideas. However, he was not pro-nihilistic. Some people believe that he was, but he was actually a heavy critic of it, and he believed that nihilism could be overcome through art and what he described as called the will to power. When a person would achieve mastery in their craft, whatever it is, they would be referred to as what Nietzsche termed as the Übermensch. And the Übermensch just translates to Overman, which also means kind of like Superman. So it is the step of above mankind, after beast, then man. And then the final ascension would be into the Übermensch. Nietzsche believed that Christianity in itself was a destructive force and it was anti-life. He was kind of a supporter of Jesus Christ, but not really the role of the Christ. And he was absolutely dead set against Christianity, and he completely wanted to destroy it. The unfortunate thing about Nietzscheanism is it eventually translated into fascism and then into Nazism, and it was used to foment World War I and II. Many people who adopt Nietzsche's ideas by nature, according to Nietzsche, which is the natural man, which is the right way to do things, by nature, people would exert force over others in becoming the Übermensch. The reason why I disagree with his view on Christianity is because I firmly believe that it's coming from a place of ignorance. I have never heard somebody speak so loud and clearly, especially a philosopher, on a subject that they know so little about. And especially because Nietzsche, his arguments were not very strong against Christianity. For example, Nietzsche believed that the synoptic gospels, that's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, were corrupted because they were written decades after Christ. He believed that the writers of the gospels had fabricated the story of Jesus Christ's life, and they had added in details that never really happened in order to support their doctrine. Nietzsche's problem with Jesus Christ was that he did not agree with any of his teachings. However, he says that, and I quote, "There was only ever one Christian and he died on the cross." This is silly to say that Jesus Christ was a Christian, and I'm not here to get preachy at all. I'm coming at this as unbiased as I can. If you want me to get preachy, I will link to you below in the description box my former channel if you like that sort of thing, and you can go and subscribe there. But that's not what this is about. I want to come at this from a more logical view. Jesus Christ was not a Christian, he was a Jew. A Christian is just a follower of Christ, and he was not a follower of himself. I think that is a silly argument, which just speaks to Nietzsche's ignorance whenever it comes to the subject, but also his idea of Christianity being anti-life because it goes against the nature of man. The entire idea of the law in the Bible was supposed to be against man because it was supposed to bring guilt of man. This is why Nietzsche calls it anti-life, because it goes against our very nature. But that is just assuming that our nature is not corrupted, according to Nietzsche, which it wasn't. He believed in indulging in the flesh and lustly desires of this life. The reason the law was given in the Bible and is so against man is on purpose. It was to make man recognize his sinful nature so that he would realize that he is not God and that there is one higher than himself that he is waiting on. He cannot perfect himself, which goes completely against Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch, which is perfecting oneself and becoming a master of all in your class, thus achieving ascension, or if you want to talk about it in a more physical sense, evolving, whatever it is. This is basically a stand-in for God. Now, the reason why I am so against Nietzscheanism isn't even that it is Luciferian in nature or satanic or anything like that, or that it can potentially lead to things like world wars, as it did. My main issue with Nietzscheanism is that it leaves a society hopeless. Now, Nietzsche is correct. Art can overcome nihilism in a sense. Striving for mastery in whatever it is can definitely overcome meaninglessness in your life, and it can give you a purpose. But there is a difference between having a purpose in your life and having hope. Now, whatever Nietzsche describes as an overcome of nihilism doesn't really matter in society, because a society without hope is a society that will fall into despair. And I personally believe that a person cannot hope in their flesh because there is no such thing as a perfect person. And even if you could become the Übermensch and you could become a master in whatever your skill is, and you become the best in the world and you're better than everybody at it, what happens then when you get it? You can only fulfill yourself with things in this life temporarily, but then once you have those things, or once you achieve that next thing, you're always striving for more. You're never feeling fulfilled. You're always wanting more. Now, if you look at the statistics over the last several decades, as atheism has increased, so has nihilism, Nietzscheanism, ideas like that. At the same time, so has depression and mental illness. And some people will say that these things are not correlated, but I absolutely do believe that they are, because when a person is not given any hope for an afterlife or any hope for something bigger than what is in themselves, which is a flawed human being, then they become totally depressed, totally despairing, totally hopeless. Whether a society becomes nihilistic in nature or a legalist moral society, or it becomes a will to power in believing in yourself as the Übermensch, all of these things are a stand-in for God, and they can only satisfy temporarily in this life. So what is the solution for Gen Z? Gen Z, Millennials, and the younger people, I notice that as I talk to my peers and people around my age, they're very godless. And I don't mean godless in a sense that they're bad people or they behave immorally. God knows none of us are perfect. None of us behave morally. But godless in a sense that they don't have the hope of God. They don't have a hope for anything else. They've just accepted the idea that life is meaningless and that when they die, they are just going to rot in the grave. So when you have this sense of hopelessness looming over you, it will absolutely lead to depression. And that's why so many young people are unhappy and they are searching, as you can see, by just looking at the internet for meaning in themselves and trying to become something and give some purpose into the world and into their lives. You can see Nietzscheanism actually almost in a prophetic sense coming to pass. Nietzsche's solution for overcoming nihilism through art and through the will to power can really only apply to a very select few, a very elite group of people. And this is where Nietzsche falls short. Not everybody is going to become the Übermensch. So those people die in a meaningless existence and without hope. You can give your life purpose through things that you create, but you can also hope for something better afterwards. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something new in this video. If you have not yet subscribed to No Pilled, please hit the subscribe button, like and share this video, and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single episode. See you guys in the next one.